Right, good afternoon everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this information session on Year 11 course selection for 2020. I'll apologise in advance. I've just come off the plane from the Oxford tour on Sunday night, where there's quite a few boarders involved in that, which is fantastic. So we took 27 boys across to London and Oxford for a cultural and academic immersion, and they thoroughly enjoyed themselves. But as a staff member, I'll admit that 27 boys was quite challenging to manage, but they're all immaculately behaved. And we had 27 boys get off on the plane at the end, so I was more than happy with the outcome there. The subject selections, there's quite a few slides to go here, and we go into quite a bit of detail. So it's exhaustive in its approach, but I think it's important for us to go through and explain all the details for Year 11, Year 12, and university entrance, because ultimately, and TAFE and extra and career options, it's important we explore all those so that we're selecting our Year 11 courses are correct and appropriate. Subject selection at Hale is not a rush process. It involves a number of opportunities to think about, and there's many different sources of information and help available along the way. Firstly, I'd like to run through the timeline of the important dates and subject selection process. If there's any questions along the way, because we are a small group, I'm happy to take them as we go. So, course selection program. Late in Term 2, the Year 10 students began a career investigation project with Mr. Kernet, who's sitting there on my left, and their head of house. And this research assignment is used in formal interviews with heads of house and as part of course selection process for Year 11 in 2020. So please speak to your son about this if they haven't already done so. You also would have received an email on Wednesday, the 26th of June. It's a detailed letter about course selection form and two information sheets titled Notes for Boys and Parents, important dates for the process of subject selection, and course selection form to be completed over the next 5 weeks and submitted to heads of house before the 30th of August, which gives us a little bit of time. Links to the school portal to access the Year 11 2020 course handbook would have also been in that email, and that's quite an exhaustive and detailed document, which I'm sure you may have already had an opportunity to look at. Parts of the course handbook are detailed in this handout which I've given you, so that should be useful. The Hale St Mary's Careers Night is this Thursday at St Mary's from 5 to 9, and that's a good opportunity for the boys to get to that, and parents obviously as well. Next week, heads of house will receive course recommendations for every boy in Year 10 from their heads of department. So for subjects particularly like mathematics, there'll be a course recommendations for which mathematics subjects they should be doing. Heads of house will then use that to have discussions or open discussions with the boy to choose the correct course in 2020. Parents may ring the heads of house if they are unsure which course to take, and they'd be more than happy to discuss that. The course selection form will then be handed back to parents for them to sign and approve, or go through the head of boarding. Boys will be given a brief talk on the topic on this Friday, so I'm going to speak to them as I'm speaking to you during their 5A period. Career Link information evening on 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 6th of August at Hale School. They'll provide details for considering options or alternative university pathway, TAFE courses or apprenticeship, which will be quite important. No problem, there's a handout there that you can grab on your way through. No problems. Once completed, approved, signed course selection form, as I've said, must be returned to the heads of house by Friday the 30th of August. Whilst it's important to get these subject selections right at this time, the decision is obviously not set in stone. It is possible to change your selection at the end of Year 10, at the start of Year 11, or at the very latest week 6 of Term 1, 2020, well into Year 11 work. Nonetheless, some restriction on choice may apply because courses may already be at capacity, or there may be timetabling restrictions. You cannot change semester 1 courses after that, although it may be possible to change, well, it is possible to change courses for semester 2 in Year 11, which I'll detail a little bit further on. All Year 10 students are working through their online career investigation project, and this leads students to examine the pathways at school, universities and TAFE. There's a slide on the career investigation project that's working from term 2 to term 3. This is under the direction of Stephen Kernett, as I've said previously. Any questions with that, please see your boys. All right, 4 points to consider. It is not reasonable to expect 15-year-olds to know exactly what career will suit them. In fact, I'm sure through their lifetime there's multiple careers that they'll go through and experience. They haven't yet had the experience or maturity to make such decisions, but they can be expected to do the following: start exploring suitable vocation areas and to have a sense of their academic strengths and weaknesses, identify subjects they enjoy, and the best predictor of academic performance in Year 11 is their performance in Year 10 in the related subject. Similarly, the best predictor of performance in Year 11 is their performance in Year 12, is the set of results they receive in Year 11. The processes learnt at school are often more important than the content. For example, commerce degrees at UWA, Curtin, Murdoch, ECU, for instance, do not require economics, accounting, and finance, business management at school. They require good maths, clear skill set, fluent writing from their first years. So it's those key competencies which they're gaining in Year 11, which are more important at times than the course subjects as they select. The Year 11 handbook also gives information on processes learnt in Year 11 and Year 12 subjects. Courses in Year 11 and 12 involve some new terms. ATAR courses. Courses are generally offered in different levels of difficulty. The harder level courses are called ATAR courses, and the lower level courses are called general courses. Typically, university-bound students would study a program of at least 4 ATAR courses in their senior secondary years. Students who are may be headed to TAFE or further education or training or the workforce would select a combination of mostly general courses in Year 11 and 12. However, it is essential that all students not completing 4 ATAR courses must take one of the AQF certificate courses available, which is the Australian Qualifications Framework. We encourage boys that are taking non-ATAR courses to do the certificate courses for a number of reasons, which I'll outline in future slides. Units courses are divided into semester-length units. Units 1 and 2 are studied in Year 11, and Units 3 and 4 are studied in Year 12. Generally, students will study both units in a particular course in a given year. However, in Year 11 it's possible to select the Unit 1 in Semester 1, and if they're not enjoying that subject or not succeeding in that subject, they can change to another course and do Unit 2 in that other course in Year 11. In Year 12, all courses must be studied as year-long pair of units. There will be a cut-off date early in the year for which they can change courses by a due-by date. I think that was April the 9th from memory this year. But it's important the Year 12 courses that they've made their choices correctly by that stage. In the handbook, the courses available in Year 11 and 12 are set out in 2 groups. Those are aimed predominantly at university entrance and those aimed at TAFE entrance. Here we have the ATAR courses available, the List A courses, which are the Humanities and Languages courses, and the List B courses that we offer at Hale for ATAR. So quite a wide variety there. We've worked through those courses extensively. We're quite experienced in all those courses. There's no new courses on offer this year. Right. General courses. General courses we've expanded a little bit for 2020. If you had boys in previous years, you may not have seen there's a couple of new options there. We've introduced philosophy, ancient history for general courses. Outdoor education is a new one for the boys as well. We've done so just to increase the breadth of general courses and options available for those boys because it's becoming a more popular option to take the general course, whether it goes into TAFE, apprenticeships, or even alternative university pathways. So it's important at Hale that we have a breadth of opportunities available for our students. The certificate courses we offer at school, and the benefits of the certificate courses will be told a bit later on. Certificate 2 of Business, which will then lead on to a Certificate of 4 Business in Year 12. This is one of the alternative entry pathways to university. Certificate 2 of Information, or IDMT, and Certificate 2 of Sports Coaching. This replaces, probably 3 or 4 years ago, we used to do general phys ed studies in Year 11 and then do general phys ed studies in Year 12. It's a popular course. We've replaced that with Certificate 2 of Sports Coaching. The Certificate 2 of Sports Coaching in Year 11 gives them a qualification for a state or nationally recognised qualification, which is very useful for them entering the workplace. No problems. Grab a handout as you're coming through, just on your left. And then they will go into Year 12 and they can do the general phys ed studies Year 12 course. We have a number of ATAR boys and general course boys taking these certificates because there's advantages for graduation, there's advantages for qualification into the workplace, and I'll speak through those in a bit. There's additional certificate courses. They can be studied off campus through our Career Link program, and there's many options available through that Career Link program for a wide range of interests. And Mr. Kernan is a good person to speak to about this. All right, courses of study. Boys will study 6 pairs of units in Year 11, i.e. 12 units. So each course has got Unit 1 and Unit 2, and they'll do 6 courses, so there'll be 12 units in total. And they'll choose 10 or 12 units in Year 12, which is 5 or 6 subject pairs in Year 12. Students who choose 10 units in Year 12 will have a supervised study in the Year 12 private study room for 1 lesson a day. The pros and cons of taking 5 or 6 2-unit courses in Year 12 will be explained to boys and their parents in Year 11 and at the start of Year 12. This year we had 148 Year 12s who chose the 5 courses plus 1 private study. Apart from dropping 1 course, most students will continue to study the same courses in Year 12 as they started in Year 11, but some will change courses. Year 11 and Year 12 are separate 1 year or pair of units courses as far as assessment goes, but it's essential that some courses, and desirable that most, are studied for 2 years to ensure success at Year 12 level. Chemistry, physics, French, Japanese are strictly cumulative in nature and cannot be commenced in Year 12 without having done the Year 11 prerequisites. Geography or visual arts could be, given a very positive attitude on the part of the students, taken just in Year 12. And sometimes there are options for boys that move from one course and go to another. But where possible, choosing the correct pair in subject in Year 11 will be good for Year 12. External assessments. The ATAR external exam at the end of Year 12 is based on Year 12 work only. It's essential that students studying ATAR courses complete the examinations at the end of the course. If you don't complete the examination, then it's as though you hadn't done the course for the whole year. So it's compulsory. It's not optional for those ATAR courses. There is a new set of assessments called ESTs, or externally set tasks, that are a requirement for Year 12 general courses. So to ensure comparability amongst all general course offered amongst the state, they have externally set tasks which are taken last term and then they are marked and moderated amongst all schools to ensure comparability and that the grades are correct for entrance into TAFE or apprenticeships. The WACE. All right, so this is the important thing for graduation, the WA Certificate of Education. And this is for 2021 for your boys. We must demonstrate the minimum standard for literacy and numeracy by achieving a band 8 or higher in 3 NAPLAN tests, so reading, writing and numeracy, in Year 9, or by passing the OLNA, the Online Numeracy and Literacy Assessment, in Years 10, 11 and 12. You must complete at least 4 Year 12 ATAR courses, including the external examinations, to be eligible for an ATAR, or at least 5 Year 12 general and or ATAR courses or equivalent, or complete a Cert 2 or higher in combination with ATAR, general or foundation courses. Right? These details are all in the handbook and very important for WASTE graduation. Students must also complete 2 Year 11 course units and 1 pair of Year 12 English units. So English is compulsory in Year 11 and Year 12. You need to complete 1 pair of course units from each of List A, which I showed earlier, and List B. So List A are the arts, languages and social science courses, and at least 1 for mathematics, science and technology in Year 12. You must complete at least 20 units in all, including a minimum of 10 Year 12 units, i.e. 5 courses or equivalents. So that's important for graduation, that you've completed 20 units in total, or equivalents, and I'll get to the equivalents in a second. You must achieve 14 C grades in Year 11 and Year 12 units, including at least 6 C grades in Year 12 units or equivalent. And this changed a few years ago. Previously it was a C grade average in 12 courses. This is no longer the case. You must achieve a C grade in 14 units across Year 11 and Year 12, which makes graduation a little bit trickier for schools across the state. We certainly managed to get there for all of our boys. The Certificate 2 or Certificate 4 courses, they count for 4 unit equivalents for C grades, and they're really important when it comes to WASTE graduation if a boy was to not achieve a C in a subject. A maximum of 8 unit equivalents may be achieved through Cert 2 or endorsed program achievements. So no more than 8 C grades can be attained through that way. Okay. This kind of area for WASTE is something we read and reread and reread again because it's quite stringent and exhaustive, making sure that we get these right for WASTE graduation. It's a large part of my job. Literacy and numeracy requirements. This is the first requirement. It's a relatively new initiative by SCASA that replaces the previous requirements for demonstrating literacy at school. Essentially, they achieve a Band 8 in NAPLAN or pass the OLNA tests that occur in March and September of Years 10, 11 and 12. So if they didn't pass OLNA in Year 10 one semester, they get a second hit at it in Year 10, then another hit in Year 11, then a second, then another hit in Year 12. And so boys at Hale will all end up passing that. So there's 6 possible attempts at school that we get through. The OLNA tests include the 3 R's, reading, writing and arithmetic. As you can see from the last slide, slide 13, most students have satisfied this criteria with about 10 students still to pass. There you go. This tells you how many students have already achieved this in Year 10. We're actually one of the highest schools in the state that's achieving those standards at Year 10 level. All right. Other WASTE course selection issues. Some other changes have occurred in the new system that may affect our students. The list of unacceptable subject combinations is now being reduced somewhat, but students still need to check the list. Unacceptable combinations include maths applications with maths methods or maths specialists. So you can't sit math applications and do math methods. Only one of those subjects will count towards the ATAR. Sitting subjects as non-school candidate is no longer possible unless it is a language course that is not offered by the school. Students can repeat course units that have had the same code, but the repeated units do not contribute towards WASTE requirements more than once and cannot be used in the determination of the WASTE Certificate of Merit and Distinction. Community service is no longer a compulsory requirement for the WASTE, but is encouraged at Hale. Students should see Miss Katie Futrell to record the community service hours. And community service hours can be used towards their WASTE graduation requirements. I'm going to show a list of those in the sec. Well, endorsed programs, let's talk about that now. It is an option to have included on your WASTE achievements gained through community organisation programs. Typically what is required here is evidence from the organisation of achievement, i.e. music certificates, Duke of Edinburgh certificate, Royal Life Saving Bronze Medallion, WA Recreation Skipper certificate. These can all count towards WASTE graduation, and they certainly look good on your certificate of achievement. In most of these endorsed programs, and I'll show you over leaf, there's an example of some things. They can count towards 1 C grade for your graduation purposes. So if you were to achieve more D grades than you had anticipated in Year 11, your Certificate 2, your endorsed programs, workplace learning hours, they can all count towards C grade equivalents for the purposes of WASTE graduation. So there's many opportunities there. There's a full list of programs on the SCARSA website, including ballet. There's so many different things that that can count. All right, where are we up to? We're on slide 17. The WASTE courses. So far we covered the WASTE courses offered at Hale School, how many course units you will study, the requirements for WASTE and endorsed programs, ATAR exams and ESTs. All right, the study pathways for Year 11 and 12 was where we're going. University and TAFE admission, how the ATAR is calculated, the processes that affect marks, Cert 2s, alternative entries, career link, and sample course selections, and English and Maths pathways. Okay. How are we going so far? All right. Year 12 study pathways. So there's basically 3 pathways in a sense. The ATAR study pathway, which is most popular pathway, I guess, at Hale, where you study 6 ATAR courses in Year 11 and 5 ATAR courses and plus a private study, or 6 in Year 12, with the view to attaining an ATAR above 70. Any boy tracking to achieve an ATAR below 70 is discouraged from going to this pathway, because there's other ways of getting into university that doesn't require an ATAR. So one of those ways, or the second way, which is a popular way, certainly amongst the state, is completing the Cert 4 in business, plus ATAR English, 4 other courses in Year 12, and a private study. So, and those courses, they can be ATAR or general courses. Students complete the Certificate 4 in business off campus at TAFE, 1 day per week. They can do their work placements, which is optional. They study ATAR English, and then 5 other courses of their choice, general or ATAR. This equates to a nominal ATAR of 70 for university entry into most courses at Curtin, Murdoch, or ECU. And this is an increasingly popular way throughout the state to get into university. The Career Link program, vocational ed or VET, students complete a Cert 2, Cert 3 qualifications or Cert 4 off campus at TAFE, 1 day per week, work placements of 1 day per week in semester 2, and students usually study general courses which do not include ATAR examinations. So if your son is not looking to do examinations, general courses are the best way forward. There are so many different ways of getting into university these days that through the Career Link program, there's numerous paths, which I'm going to show on another slide, to do that way, if that's that way you wish to go. Okay, more details on the course handbook. Please.
So pathways 1 and 2, on the surface it looks like pathway 2 has a higher workload than pathway 1. If you're studying the same number of courses plus the certificate 4, what have I not understood?
It's a different workload. The Certificate 4 in business, there's modules to complete which they tick off, so it's not as onerous. There's no requirement for them to get 80%. They just have to complete the module. The ATAR English is the same as both. They both be doing ATAR English. The 4 other courses are general courses. So with their general courses, they don't have to achieve a certain mark. They're not competing for that ATAR. They're obviously, if they can get A grades, that's beneficial for going into TAFE or those things, but they're looking to pass those courses, or the variety, plus the private study. So in a sense, it depends on the student, but the ATAR, would be fair to say, would be more rigorous as far as the courses would be slightly higher or harder to get into. So your physics, chemistry, for example, and then they're competing for that final ATAR mark, whereas this is a guaranteed ATAR of 70, and you've got your selection of general. I don't know, it's just different for different boys. Stephen?
If I just clarify for you, I see what you're meaning there, because it looks like they're doing 7
Yeah.
The way that a certificate 4 in any career link program works is that that is tied to the general career and enterprise, which would be one of the 4 other courses. So the boys would be doing career and enterprise, this is year 12 we're talking about now. And on the Tuesday they go out to do the Cert 4. All that Cert 4 work is completed on the Tuesday if the boys are doing the right thing. And then on the Wednesday they catch up with, through the general career and enterprise class, anything that happened on Tuesday that needs to be discussed, etc., etc. So it's all completely manageable, but the Cert 4 is specifically undertaken on the Tuesday externally at Fremantle Education Centre.
Right. Okay.
All right. Just talk at UWA's undergraduate course structure. Traditionally, more than 50% of HAL students choose UWA, so it's worthwhile having a brief chat about this. Their undergraduate degrees are Arts, Commerce, Design, Science, and the Bachelor of Philosophy honours, which is there's a strict entrance requirement to get into. Students who choose to pursue a professional qualification in the degrees listed below will need to complete a postgraduate degree after finishing their bachelor's degree. Direct pathways can provide an assured place in one of these postgraduate professional courses. To get a direct pathway, direct pathways give you an assured place. As I said before, the pathways combine undergraduate and graduate courses to give you a clearer direction of your career choice. Applications for these early offers are now open and close on the 30th of September. Direct pathways have their own unique application code when applying to TISC. As you can see, for the administration, you get a school grade for A to E for each of your results. The course results is a mark out of 100. Everyone has to achieve the WAE certificate of education to achieve to go to university. Prerequisites are a scaled score of at least 50 in a specific course. So most courses require English, for example. Some will require maths applications, and that requires a final scaled score of at least 50. If they don't achieve a final scale score of at least 50, then there's make-up units that they can sit, or there's competency exams they can sit in early January or late December to get into that. I mean, we have a case where there's probably about 25% of boys don't pass, not at Hale, or sorry, 25% of students across the state don't get a scaled score of 50 in English, so they'll sit a competency exam in late December to be able to get into those courses. Scaling, I'll talk a little bit about scaling, but I'm not going to go into it exhaustively. List A, List B is a requirement, but it's not a requirement. It's a requirement for the WACE certificate, but it's not a requirement for the calculation of ATAR. ATAR is simply the best 4 subjects of the student. Unacceptable combinations I've spoken about before. I'll talk about how to calculate the aggregate very quickly. These bonuses are important for students choosing subjects, the LOTE bonus, so for languages other than English, so Japanese and French at Hale, whatever mark you get 10% of that added on to your TEA score. So if a boy was achieves 80% in French, he gets an extra 8% added on to his TA score. Same with the maths bonus. So to encourage students to do the higher mathematics, for mathematics methods and mathematics specialists, whatever score they finally get, they'll get 10% added on. So if a boy got 80% in math methods, he would get 8% added on to his final score. For students chasing the highest ATAR possible, which is out of a maximum of, well, it's out of, I'll use the example in a second, but these bonuses certainly help if you're aiming for that 99.95, which I know a couple of our boys certainly do each year. So the TEA scores are some of the 4 best scaled scores. Yeah, all right. The jet lag's kicking in. Plus bonus points applied for LOTE and mathematics. It's calculated from a combination of ATAR course results, I've gone through that. There's some unacceptable, and the maximum is 430. So that's 100% for the for core courses, plus a maximum of 10% for if they took math methods, math specialists, and a language. ATAR score is necessary for university entry. It contributes to the selection rank for university office. ATAR is the national currency with some values in all states, and ATAR gain in WA is valid for entry into any Australian public university. It reports the rank position relative to all other students, takes into account the number of students who sat the AWACE exam in the year, and also the number of people of year 12 leaving in that population. So 99.95, which is the top ATAR score you can get, means that you're in the top 0.05% of the state. Right? If you got a 50 ATAR, that means that you achieved right in the middle of all students in that cohort, including non-ATAR students. So it's not an average of your mark, it's your rank relative to the entire year 12 population. An ATAR of 70 indicates that you are equal to or better than 70% of the entire year 12 school leaver age population. So here's an example of how it's calculated. This boy's done well, 75% in English, geography, he's a math specialist, which is my favourite subject. He's added on 10% bonus of that, so you add 6.8. He's done math methods, 6.9, chemistry, and French, you add on 6.2. So that's his TA from the 4 courses. Maths bonus of this, methods bonus of this bonus of this, so you add those on, and you can see that jumps up quite significantly to a 95 ATAR. So that puts him in the top 5% of all students, and this is a 92 ATAR. Both excellent results, but you can see those bonuses if you're aiming for the really top marks certainly help, which is why a lot of our boys take a language and the higher maths. Bonuses are applied irrespective of whether this subject is counted in the top 4 or not. So there may be a case, as you can see here, math specialists end up being their 5th subject, but the bonus is still added on. That's a crash course in how to calculate your ATAR. It's important knowing this when we're choosing our course selections. You can see the average score when compared to what the ATAR mark is. So if a boy was averaging 60 in his subjects, that equates to around about an 80 ATAR or 79.35. UWA's minimum criteria is an 80 ATAR, so we're looking at an average about 61 to be able to get into that. Similarly, if you average 80, it's nearly a 97 ATAR, which is an excellent result. Boys scoring on average 55 or less, they're around that 70 mark. It's the 55 average is their final scaled score. A lot of the boys achieving a 55 average are achieving the lower subjects, and they get scaled down a little bit. So any boy around that average is probably discouraged from choosing this ATAR pathway to go into university if that's what he wants to do. Because as I said, there's that certificate for general course pathway, which is a guaranteed ATAR of 70, which is beneficial for those students, and they don't have to go through the examination process. Right, scaling. Do I really want to go through scaling with you here today? I will be very quickly. Moderation, because there's differences in school marking between schools, each mark in Year 12 level is moderated between schools to ensure comparability. So that's the first step, is moderation. Standardisation occurs when there's a difference in the exam difficulty. So if there's a hard exam one year, then the marks are brought up in a standardisation process. If the exam was very easy, they're brought down to a predetermined average. And the average mark scaling, because there's differences between subjects. So some subjects are harder than other subjects, then they also scale relative to the subjects to make sure it's comparable between each subject. So for example, math specialist is an average of about 68 after scaling. English has a final scale mark of about 58 because there's more students taking it. So that's generally the process. Moderation between schools, standardisation for exam difficulty, and your average mark scaling between subjects. There's the process. It's the exciting process into statistics like myself. how important this is at a Year 10 parent-teacher interview meeting. I don't know, if you want to chat to me about it, I'm more than happy to speak to you about it. All right, so the alternative pathway to university, which is the Cert 4 and ATAR English plus 4 others, as we've started discussing before. Year 12 students study a Cert 4 qualification off campus at TAFE on the Tuesday, 1 day per week, with or without work placements, along with ATAR English and 4 other courses plus private study. Students take this pathway will be awarded a nominal ATAR of 70 for university entrance into most courses at Curtin, Murdoch and ECU. And when I mean most courses, it's pretty much all courses, isn't it, Mr. Curtin?
Yeah, look, it's probably about 85% of courses. The universities are very good at discussing with you the opportunity. So, for example, I've already had Curtin out to talk to the Year 12 boys that are interested in going to Curtin, who are doing Cert 4 Business, ATAR English. Some of them may be doing ATAR applications, maths, construction management, for example, is something that's of interest. That if they're doing the applications, the English, the Cert 4, and that all goes well, they will be given what's known as the nominal or notional 70, and they'll gain entry into that program.
Yeah. Students must sit an English ATAR examination and should take the workload of their ATAR English and Cert 4 qualification into account when selecting the other 4 courses. General courses are usually suitable. Private study is beneficial to study so that they can have extra time to revise their ATAR English, which at Howe is generally their weakness for this pathway. So the more time they put into that, the better they will be by the end of it. TAFE entrance requirements. There's a minimum literacy and numeracy skills or a previous cert achievement. Entry to competitive courses. Applications for competitive courses need to demonstrate both minimum literacy requirements or cert levels and respond to a selection criteria which merits a maximum of 90 points. Applications will be ranked and offers will be made to applicants with the highest total point scores. Achievement ratings, maximum of 60 points. So secondary education results earn 14 to 20 points per Year 12 subject. Cert qualification completed at school earns 10 to 60 points for students who wish to apply for further TAFE subjects on completion of Year 12. Work history, credit for Year 12, credit for total hours worked, at this many points per hour. Employment, work experience, community service, volunteers, work all count. So the more the boys engaged, the higher they're desired by the TAFE course and the higher they'll be put up for the competitive courses. So entry to non-competitive courses. Applicants for non-competitive courses need to demonstrate minimum literacy and numeracy requirements. You can see for a Cert 1 there's no requirements there. For Cert 2s, the NAPLAN Band 8 or the ULNA. Cert 3s are similar. Cert 4s, C grades in Year 11 General English and ULNA, and for Diploma and Advanced courses, completion of Waste General or ATAR or equivalent. Essentially all boys that come out of Hale will achieve those qualifications for TAFE. Entry to the competitive courses, I've just gone through the criteria there. Selection criteria is a maximum of 90 points. If the boys are completing all the courses here, 90 points is certainly attainable, I'd suggest, for a lot of our students. Academic achievement can be demonstrated through secondary education results or a completed Cert 2 qualification. So if documents for both secondary education and completed Cert qualifications are provided, points will be calculated for both, and the higher points used to calculate the score for academic achievement. If more than one Cert qualification be completed, the one which awards the highest point score will be used. Points awarded for secondary results, the score we generated from the 3 completed full-year courses that award the highest points. So you can see the points awarded there for C grades, B grades, A grades, for general courses, ATAR courses, and that's the extensive point system for a maximum of 90. And then for Cert 2s, Cert 3s, Cert 4s that they complete, you can see that's the points allocated. There's no point in me talking through all those, but they're there on the slides. Career Link in Year 11. Career Link Pathway is the third option, and it's an off-campus training and work placement program available in Year 11 and 12, and it's continuing to increase in popularity as we progress at Hale. Year 11 students will complete one or more Cert 2 courses at school, either the Cert 2 in business, IDMT, sport coaching, another Cert 2 or Cert 3 course of a vocational interest to them off campus at TAFE College 1 day per week. So that at a Year 11 level, they can complete two Cert courses, which would be fantastic. Plus they can complete another one in Year 12. Workplace learning in an employment area of interest. Work placements will take place in 2 blocks during the examination periods in June and in November. 5 other general waste courses, including English, Maths and Career Enterprise, must be taken. The Career Link program is suitable for students who wish to achieve the WACE but not study 4 or more ATAR subjects which require external examinations, or for students who apply to TAFE or university via alternative entry pathways and enter an apprenticeship or a traineeship after school. Increasingly, Career Link is a really attractive option for our students for a number of reasons. So here's a sample course for a Year 11 Career Link student. They take General English, Maths Essentials, Career and Enterprise. They may choose Visual Arts, Engineering Studies, and then their Cert 2 and IDMT. In the Career Link, they go training at TAFE for a Cert 3 in Data and Voice Communication, and then they'll do work placements at Hale during the examination period. In Year 12, then they'll move on and still take the General English or ATAR English, Essentials, Career and Enterprise, Visual Arts. They take General Engineering Studies, PE Studies, which follows on from previous years. They take the Career Link, they do the second year training and TAFE for Cert 3 in Data and Voice Communication 1 day per week, and a work placement in Computing 1 day per week, and they're credited, which is credited as an endorsed program for workplace learning. From that, they go on to do TAFE, Cert 4 in Technology, with those as their preferred subjects, or they go to Curtin Direct, which will gain entry into university, ECU, Uni Prep. There's so many different prep courses these days, which I'm going to outline another case if that's where they wish to go. I mean, university is not for everyone, and everyone doesn't have to go to university, but if they take this pathway and that's something they choose to do later on, it's certainly open to them. And then they can take this further on. So that's the Career Link pathway. University entrance alternative pathways. You can see there's a wide range of university pathways through Curtin University there. They're really trying to get people into their course. Same as UWA, there's alternative entry pathways. Notre Dame, ECU, Murdoch. There's a huge list of which Mr. Curtin is particularly versed on and knows very well. We have external speakers coming and speaking to the boys at many different stages, but a quick chat with Mr. Curtin, and he'll be able to let you know all there is to know about alternative entry pathways for our Career Link boys, external to the Cert 4 in business, which is a guaranteed ATAR of 70. Career Link destinations in 2018, just so that you know where our Career Link boys ended up. 8 students ended up at university. That's where they chose to go, Curtin University, ECU, and one was at Whopper. Apprenticeship, so we had 3 boys take on an apprenticeship straight away. I know my mates that did an apprenticeship straight out of school, they've earned far more money than myself, as I spent many years at university while they earned many years of salary. Traineeship, and then one boy was employed at his family farm. Another boy was football in Victoria. Was that AFL? No, I can't remember that boy.
I'm not sure who that is.
I don't know. That's the pathway I would have chosen if I had any footballing ability. All right, Year 11 course selections. Right, students must choose a total of 6 ATAR general or cert courses. Everyone has to compulsorily, as I said before, choose an English course or a literature course. Select a mathematics course. Strong math students may select math methods and math specialist. We encourage all boys at Howard to select a mathematics course. If you wish to study an ATAR pathway, select at least 4 ATAR subjects. Students who do not wish to study an ATAR pathway usually enrol in the Career Link program and select Career and Enterprise, and then 1 cert course at school plus 4 other general courses. And Career Link students will study an additional cert course off campus and participate in workplace learning. I think I've said that 3 times, hopefully that's clear. Students who choose general courses need to select at least 1 additional choice, as some courses may not run if enrolments are low. So that's important. I think for next year, because we've increased the number of opportunities for general courses, there may be some courses that don't run, just purely for lack of numbers. So it's important that there's an extra one chosen, so that if that first choice isn't available, then they can choose the next one. Please rank the choice in order of preference. Your choice will be discussed with you if your first preferences are not available. That's what a course selection form looks like. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Everything I said there then goes on the form with the course choices that you wish to make. Student signature, parent signature. This will be discussed with your head of house, with Mr. Kernett, to make sure that it's done correctly. Here's a sample selection for you for Year 11 in 2020. So this is an ATAR 1. Student choosing French, English, math methods, economics, music and chemistry, which leads on to in Year 12. They can take either 5 or 6. This student particularly has decided to withdraw from chemistry after semester 1 for whatever reason, and then he's taken this private study in semester 2. So by taking 6 in Year 12, that's given him the option to either continue with 6 or if the workload was too imbalanced, or perhaps he wasn't achieving success or enjoyment out of one subject, then he can remove from himself and then take the private study. So that's a popular option for a number of boys. But if you make it through semester 1 of chemistry, good luck arguing with your chemistry teacher to get out of their subject, because they obviously would love to have you study it to completion. That goes for all courses. Here's another selection of a boy. He's taken the 5 courses in ATAR, and the 6th course, what will he choose? Another science course is discouraged. As you can see, he's taken math methods, specialist, physics and chemistry, which are his list 2 subjects. He's got 1 less subject, a list B subject, sorry. So another list A subject is encouraged. So he may choose to take economics or politics and law. Be careful I don't be too biased against other subjects, but you get the idea of what a list A subject would be. And in Year 12, they've chosen to take the 5 subjects, and they can either continue with the 6th course or move to private study. So here's another example for 3 of a boy that's chosen English, applications, accounting and finance, geography and engineering studies. This boy perhaps isn't the strongest student, and he's found out throughout the course of the year that he's achieved D grades in these subjects and then the C grade. He knew he had recommendations from his head of house, from Mr. Kerr, from myself, that he was at risk of achieving those low marks. And if he was going to pursue an ATAR course, then he would be advised to take the Certificate 2 in Business along the way. What the Certificate 2 in Business, which is a module base, if he completes that, which he's likely to do, is that gives him 4 unit equivalents or 4 unit C grade equivalents for that year. So if I think back to the graduation requirements, which is based on achieving 14 C grade equivalents, this lets him get 4 unit equivalents, right? Plus the 2 here, that gives him 6. So it helps him achieve the WACE graduation. He then moves, after realising that ATAR isn't for him, into a general course. The general course, he's then able to achieve the B's and C grades he desires. He's got the security net now of the Cert 2 in Business, which gives him 4 unit equivalents, and he graduates with WACE graduation. Yeah, and the Cert 2 in business will be carried forward. He also did some workplace learning, which is another unit equivalent for his graduation purposes. So that just provides a bit of security. We have a number of boys that decide to take the 5ATAR, and they'll take that extra, so either Cert 2 in business, or they take the Cert, which could lead onto a Cert 4 in business in Year 12, or they take the Cert 2 in sports coaching, just because it provides that 4 unit equivalence, which is so important if they weren't to achieve the number of C's in Year 11. So if your boy is undecided or perhaps not doing as well as he hoped in year 10, then I would encourage that 6th subject to be a certificate course in Year 11, because it just keeps his options open. Yeah. Any questions to do with that? All right, this is actually my final slide, and then I'll take some more questions. So he can. I've discussed that. Here's a Cert 2 in business. The student has completed this. I asked you to discuss all this with your sons. The available courses for Year 11, their interests, their post-school destinations, their careers, and the most effective pathways. There's so many different ways to get into their post-destination now. What is best for your son will be tailored to his individual needs. Use the resources of the Careers Office, the Careers page, the fortnightly newsletter on the portal, the Head of Careers, Mr. Kernett, who I've mentioned about 10 times, house heads, or myself. We're all very keen in seeing the boys achieve their destination. Be reassured by the fact the process of subject advice, university and TAFE course advice continues in Year 11 and 12, and be confident that changes are can be made along the way. Are there any questions that you may like to ask? Yes?
Just way back with the waste sort of things that you can add in, like the skipper's ticket.
Yeah.
If they did their skipper's ticket when they're 14 years old, so before Year 10, can you still put it down?
That's a good question.
Because that's exactly the situation I've got.
That's exactly the situation you've got. Mr. Kernan, are you able to answer that question?
Both kids have done it at 14.
I'd like to say previously to Leanne Meldrum leaving, she would have gladly done that
Yeah,
today
I
at the
think.
School Curriculum and Standards Authority, but there's a new person from this year, so I would say no at this point, but it's worth investigating. In that, generally, the students here will have enough units from for the waste stuff from all their courses and their certificate programs. So the endorsed programs, it's more about getting it on their statement of attainment at the end of year 12 more than anything else.
Yeah, it's just a nice to have more.
Yeah. So look, I think it's certainly something we can ask the School Curriculum and Standards Authority, and they'll either say yes or no. And all that really is the certificate is submitted to Sarah Hornsey in the Curriculum Office, and then we see if it's accepted or not ultimately.
Yeah, and usually SCARs are looking for it to be completed during that Year 11 and 12 as alternatives to other coursework. So
it's 10, 11 and 12 for
10, 11 and 12,
programs?
yeah.
10, 11
Yeah.
and 12, yeah.
So they're offering that in the boarding house for Year 10, so should they hold off and offer it for next year for the now Year 10s for Year 11 next year, if that's the case with the skipper's ticket?
So the endorsement, no, 10, 11 and 12 they'll accept it.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12,
that's
yeah.
fine.
Any other questions? Right, if you want to ask private questions afterwards, more than happy to take that, or any emails or phone calls, please do so. But thank you for your time. All right,